story of Dracula has been one of the most stable and most iconic movie monsters for over a century. Since then, there's been different versions and reimaginings of the classic vampire that you would think that there isn't anything left to tell. Well, coming from Norwegian filmmaker André Øvredal, the same guy that brought us Troll Hunter, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, now brings to us The Last Voyage of the Demeter. The story takes place in 1897 where a shipment crew abords a ship called the Demeter where they're setting sail from Carpathia to London unknowingly that one of their shipments on board contains something evil within. So basically, in a nutshell, it's Alien. A self-contained suspense horror film where instead of the xenomorph, it's Dracula, and instead of the ship taking place in the space, it's on the ocean. I think you guys get the idea of where I'm going from here. Now, even though it's based off Bram Stoker's classic novel, it's actually an adaptation from one of the chapters in the book called The Log Cabin. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I've read this book. Honestly, I haven't. But it is on my bucket list to read it one day, and eventually I would like to, in the future, do more movie reviews that are based on novels and later do compare and contrast to them. So what did I actually think about this movie? For someone like me who grew up treasuring and enjoying the Universal Classic Monster movies, I was actually pretty much stoked to see this new tale, but unfortunately, I did not love this movie, nor did I hate it. It's somewhere down the line between either a mixed baggage or disappointment for me. The best part of this film is easily the first act. I mean, it started off pretty ballsy revealing the fate of the Demeter and then later transitioning it back 3 weeks prior to how all this occurred. I thought that was actually pretty clever. The story structure is laid out very simple to understand. You do have this good amount of talented actors that are working on this film, and they really are giving it their all with very limited stuff that I will explain later in the cons. André's direction does build up this creepy atmospheric anticipation for the creature, which he really is good at that. And for Dracula, who I can actually say for a movie that involves Dracula, the story is not really evolved around the monster. It's more really about the characters on the boat surviving this incident. I actually like the design. I know these days we usually get the stereotypical human side of Dracula, but no, in this version, it's much more of a monster, animalistic version that's got loose from its cage and now all hell is breaking loose. For the way how I can describe how it looks, he would actually look like a mixture between the main villain from the 1979 film Salem's Lot and the 1922 silent film Nosferatu, which I think is just the perfect combination to strike fear into audiences at the theater. And this goes out to people my age. I do not want to see anybody in the comments section typing down, "Oh, we don't know who Nosferatu is. That's a silent film. We never heard of him." Yes, you did. Unless you didn't grow up watching SpongeBob, he made a cameo in one of the classic episodes. In a day and age where usually CGI is the common go-to method to creating monsters and characters, it is presented in this film, but however, there is a fair share of practical makeup and costume effects that I actually did really appreciate from it. It's usually shown where you have these close-up shots where Dracula's hiding in the corner or you got a hand on top of one of the victims, and it just adds so much realism in the time when they actually do add CGI. It's mostly for the impossible shots that you really can't do with costume effects. Other movie studios, take notes. And of course, since it is a Dracula movie, there is going to be carnage, go figure. But the thing that surprised me the most was that they really got bold when it came to their killings. And what I mean by that is that they didn't play safe by only killing off expandable characters that you know are going to get killed off. I mean, it's obviously presented in there, but they made some very good risk to where you think that these characters, I'm not going to say which ones, which of these characters you think are going to live in the film, and then all of a sudden, I just honestly think that that just makes the stakes higher, the story is less unpredictable for that part, and also it basically comes as Dracula being a real actual threat, like nobody is safe from this thing. However, this is the part where we start getting to the cons. It's when they actually start doing the actual execution scenes that makes it so anticlimactic. I've detected every single jump scare and loud sound that was predicted to happen, and it did happen. Now, don't get me wrong, I have been a victim of jump scares, I'm guilty of that, but it's just the bad cinematography and the tacky CGI that really took me out of this film. Like, yeah, all that anticipation that was built up in Act 1, gone. I did not feel that for the remainder of the film. And it didn't really help that when you have talented actors on this film like Corey Hawkins, Liam Cunningham, and David Dastmalchian, who are really good actors in other films. I've seen their work before and they are brilliant, but it's just in this film, they're just given just this bad direction and writing that their characters really just come off very bland to mediocre at best. And because of that, you just can't naturally invest yourself into any of these characters that are going along this survival journey. So the tension and fear is not really all that there, which just becomes one of the biggest flaws in this movie. I'm just gonna say this real quick in the film, if you're gonna escape the boat, don't do it at night. And also, if you check thoroughly trying to find where Dracula is, because obviously it's not like Alien, it's not like he's hiding in the vents, it's just a ship with boxes. It's not really hard that much to find. Either someone didn't do their job right, or that's just lazy writing. You know what's actually worse than a vampire sucking out your blood? It's when a mediocre film sucks out the money from your wallet. Now don't get me wrong, I do this for a living, I review movies, so I have it coming, but I love this job. For the final score, I'm gonna give The Last Voyage of the Demeter a 5.5 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Look forward to much more movie reviews to come along in the future. Did you watch The Last Voyage of the Demeter? Comment down below and let me know what you think. If you haven't already, follow me on social media where I do post updated movie news where I do get my thoughts on that. And also, if you did like what you see here, subscribe to my channel here of the OMG Critic, the Obsessive Movie Geek.